How can a country process thousands of tons of tuna every year without ever setting foot on land? No factories, no ports, but still packaging, sorting, and maintaining strict EU standards. How does Spain do that? Do you think food supply chains always start on land? Spain is proving the opposite. In this video, we will trace an almost invisible industry, but one that is present in most sashimi slices, canned tuna, or niçoise salads on European tables. A market known for being among the world's strictest regarding food and safety hygiene. If there are no factories, no inspection stations, no independent oversight, then what guarantees the quality? And why do strict European regulations accept this? Is the food industry perhaps silently entering an era that doesn't require land? By the end of the video, you will understand why the European Union, with all its strictness, accepts a model unlike any factory that has ever existed. The journey doesn't start from a factory, nor from a farm or a noisy fishing port. It starts from a ship. A massive ship, over 100 meters long, silently leaves the Spanish coast, drifting straight into the heart of the ocean, carrying no cargo, in no hurry to return, carrying only one single goal: to catch and process tuna right in the middle of the open sea. But this is no ordinary fishing trip. These ships will not return after a week or 10 days. They can stay at sea for 3, even 4 consecutive months without docking, without calling at a supply station. And strangest of all, they don't need land-based factories. Amidst the biting cold waves and regions of the sea with no sign of human presence, these ships perform something very few people have ever seen. No one but the captain and the crew knows exactly what is happening inside the ship. The tuna is brought on board, then what? Who controls the process? And why does fish from here, without going through any additional factory, still qualify for the European market? Everything is still a mystery, but one thing is certain: this is not just fishing. It is a food production process at sea, without signs, without fixed assembly lines, but operating with step-by-step precision. We will step into that world, but not right now. First, let's see what happens as soon as the first tuna is pulled onto the ship's deck. The ships leave Spain and cross halfway around the world to reach the ideal fishing grounds, typically in the Central Pacific or Indian Oceans, where water temperature, currents, and plankton create ideal conditions for tuna to gather. But time is very short, because tuna schools can appear unexpectedly and disappear just a few hours later. The ships use fish-finding technology like sonar, radar, satellite signals, and even rely on the location of seabirds to pinpoint the area as quickly as possible. Once the coordinates are determined, the ship will use purse-seine nets or long lines for harvesting. The entire crew immediately gets into position. Each person has a task: casting bait, checking tension, operating cranes, monitoring the flow of fish. The feeling of hauling in a large catch of tuna? It's extreme tension, because a good haul can be worth tens of thousands of euros, but just being a few minutes late or choosing the wrong area, you will lose everything. Besides the risk of losing the fish, there are also risks from the ocean. Big waves, nets breaking, fish thrashing and causing injuries, machinery breaking down halfway through, or encountering sharks cutting across the nets, destroying the entire haul. During the golden hours, each tuna pulled aboard is the result of a chain of calculations, experience, and reflexes. And from that moment, the clock starts ticking. Because tuna don't wait. There are only a few hours to get them flash frozen if you want to maintain EU standard quality. Now we will step inside the ship, where there is no factory, but each tuna is processed with laboratory-level precision, and you will understand why a ship, in the middle of the ocean, is considered a factory without land. The tuna has just been pulled from the sea. It's still warm and slightly twitching. Without wasting a minute, the entire crew begins to act, as if every second that passes could cost quality. First, the fish is quickly stunned. With a light tap to the head, or electric shock. Immediately after, the designated worker uses a scalpel to cut the main artery near the fish's gills. Early bleeding helps prevent the flesh from darkening, avoids bacterial growth, and maintains a smooth flesh texture, perfectly suited for sashimi. The tuna continues to be pre-processed with a continuous flow of cold seawater. The processors, typically specially trained fishermen, cut open the fish's belly, remove the organs, being careful not to break the gallbladder. A gentle stream of cold seawater is sprayed to rinse the abdominal cavity, washing away any impurities. The entire process takes only 2 to 3 minutes, faster than any conventional seafood processing plant. Tuna is not allowed to stay on deck for more than a few minutes. As soon as it's cleaned, each fish is taken directly down to the deep freezing holds, where temperatures range from -50 degrees Celsius to -60 degrees Celsius. Down there, the air is almost completely removed, minimizing humidity, creating conditions for ultra-fast freezing, which typically takes 12 to 24 hours, depending on the size of the fish. When the fish is completely frozen, the recording process begins. At this point, the tuna is brought back to the processing area for coding and sorting. Each fish is tagged with a batch code, date, time of catch, GPS location, freezing time, sorted by size and fat content, updated in the ship's electronic data system, connected via satellite to the monitoring department at the land port in Spain. Each fish is not just food, it's a complete digital record, ready for traceability at any time. And to ensure things aren't just pretty on paper, some ships even have a mini laboratory. Here, random fish tissue samples are taken, usually from the tail section, to test for histamine levels and microorganisms. If they exceed EU regulations, the entire batch of fish will be held for re-inspection upon arrival at port. The entire process, from the moment the fish leaves the water until it rests in the freezing hold, can be completed in under 2 hours. No factory, no modern assembly line, just seasoned hands, a rocking ship amidst the waves, and numbers recorded with absolute precision. And the strange thing is, this very model, with its simple rough exterior, passes every European standard. Not just once, but thousands of times, for many years. If you think EU food safety and hygiene standards can only be applied in laboratories, enclosed factories, or under the supervision of independent bodies, these ships will make you think again. Because throughout 3 to 4 months at sea, every process is carried out thousands of nautical miles from land, with no inspectors physically present. So, how do they meet standards? The answer lies in a concept that is not new at all: self-control, self-certification, and post-verification. Once the tuna has been fully processed, frozen, and coated, the ship continues its journey at sea. After just a few weeks, hundreds of tons of fish have filled the freezing holds. But no one is yet certain whether these catches will be accepted upon arrival at port. Because everything now depends on one single thing: the traceability records and the hygiene control system, built right in the middle of the sea. Spanish ships do not operate arbitrarily. They are registered under the HACCP system, a risk control standard that the European Union accepts for offshore operations as well. Each ship must establish its own HACCP plan, have a quality control officer, usually a food engineer, overseeing every step, record all critical control points: temperature, processing time, sanitation of tools, freezing areas. All data is recorded automatically and manually, then transmitted to the control department on land via satellite. And when the ship arrives at port, post-verification begins. At this point, food safety inspectors from Spain or the EU will cross-reference the HACCP records submitted by the ship, check the data storage system, temperature, tool sanitation, processing time. Take random samples from the freezing holds to check for histamine levels and microorganisms. If there are signs of deviation, such as slow freezing time, fluctuating temperature, or microbial counts exceeding the limit, the batch of fish may be temporarily detained or rejected. If everything matches, the shipment is approved without needing reprocessing. It goes directly into the retail system, canning factories, or is exported whole to Japan, France, Italy. What's special is, all checks take place after everything is complete. No supervisors travel with the ship. No live camera surveillance in the cold storage compartments. The entire process relies on a self-monitoring system. And something more important, trust. This is the control model that the EU calls the responsible operator model, meaning the operator bears full legal responsibility for any deviations, but also has full authority to carry out, record, and protect their product. That's why you can see tuna caught in the middle of the ocean, without going through any factory, but still bearing an EU-certified stamp. The question is this model based on trust, data, and post-verification truly safe enough? Or, in the era of global supply chains, are we accepting a reasonable level of risk in exchange for speed and scale? The answer, perhaps, lies not in paperwork or reports, but in how consumers themselves access food and what they are allowed to know. No assembly lines, no factory walls, no surveillance cameras, just ocean waves, temperatures of -60°C, and people living on the ship for hundreds of days. But from that unseen place, thousands of tons of tuna quietly enter the global supply chain. And more importantly, they overcome all of Europe's technical barriers. Is that proof of the flexibility and progress of the modern food industry? Or is it a legal gray area, where quality control is replaced by monitored trust? We cannot draw absolute conclusions, but perhaps the most significant thing isn't in the process, but in this: do consumers have the right to know the journey their food has taken? If you've followed along this far, thank you for joining us on a very special journey. Please share this video if you think this is something worth knowing about for more people. Not to cast doubt, but to raise an important question for the future. Does food processing really need factories anymore? And in the next video, we're going to a place where thousands of bison, a species that was once nearly extinct, are now being raised for meat. Sounds like a paradox? But that's the American conservation model. Eat to protect, harvest to sustain the species.